They've been lying to you from the start. The biggest secret isn't hidden in government vaults or ancient temples, it's inside your own mind. For centuries, powerful groups have worked hard to hide the knowledge that could set you free. This knowledge threatens everything they've built. At the heart of this secret is a tiny, mysterious gland deep in your brain, the pineal gland. Ancient Hermetic thinkers believed it was the gateway between our physical world and higher levels of existence, a bridge to states of consciousness far beyond what we normally experience. But you were never meant to know this. Instead, they covered it up with mockery, misinformation, and fear. Because if you truly understood the power of the pineal gland, you'd become impossible to control, and that's exactly what they fear. For thousands of years, the Hermetic masters kept this powerful truth quiet, sharing it only with a select few. They understood something modern science is just starting to notice. The pineal gland isn't just a simple part of the brain, it's a sacred portal, a direct link to realities beyond what our senses can detect. Positioned right in the center of the brain, this small pine cone-shaped gland has been called the seat of the soul by philosophers and mystics for thousands of years. To the Hermetics, this wasn't just a metaphor, it was a real map to something greater. They believed the pineal gland lets people reach states of consciousness far beyond normal experience, connecting us directly to higher planes and universal intelligence. But this knowledge was never meant for everyone. Hermetic teachings weren't written for casual readers or debates. They were carefully protected and only shared with those who showed discipline, honesty, and readiness. These teachings included ways to activate the pineal gland, practices that allowed people to enter deep mystical states, sharpen their perception, and reach a level of awareness that made them free from manipulation. It wasn't about religion or rules. It was about true freedom, the complete control of your own mind. The Hermetic philosophy is based on the idea, as above, so below. The universe reflects itself in everything, and the big cosmos is mirrored inside the human body. They believed the pineal gland was the bridge between these worlds, a receiver and transmitter of energy and consciousness that connects us directly to the fabric of reality. But that's why this knowledge had to be hidden. People who understand their own power become impossible to control. When you awaken to higher consciousness, you stop blindly following outside authority, chasing material things, fearing fake systems, or obeying rules that don't serve you. Over time, as religious powers rose and governments centralized control, Hermetic wisdom went underground. The secret methods for activating the pineal gland were dismissed as nonsense or fantasy by those who benefited from keeping people ignorant. Fear became their weapon and ridicule their shield. Anyone who explored these ideas was called dangerous or crazy. They couldn't risk people discovering that true freedom was never given by governments or spiritual leaders. It was always inside themselves. That's why this knowledge isn't openly taught today. Even modern science treats the pineal gland like a simple regulator of sleep, ignoring centuries of tradition that point to a deeper purpose. Still, some researchers have found things they can't explain, how this tiny gland produces chemicals linked to extraordinary states of consciousness. What the Hermetics found through practice and inner work, science is only just starting to confirm. The secret method involves a specific mix of breath control, focused visualization, tuning to certain frequencies, and strong intention. These aren't casual meditations or daydreams, but serious practices developed over centuries to unlock hidden parts of consciousness. The Hermetics knew consciousness isn't stuck inside the brain. It's a vast, limitless field beyond time and space, and the pineal gland is the key to accessing it. People who practice this report deep experiences, visions, a non-linear sense of time, meetings with higher beings, and a strong feeling of unity with everything. But unlike modern quick-fix self-help trends, activating the pineal gland takes serious discipline, a complete mental reset, purification, and focus that removes layers of social programming before you can safely open these higher doors. It's not just curiosity, it's responsibility, because once those doors open, there's no going back. Today, this ancient knowledge is buried under a pile of skepticism, distractions, and fake spirituality. We're told to laugh it off, fear it, or dismiss it as pseudoscience, while being pushed deeper into consumerism, obedience, and fake happiness without questioning why the door to higher consciousness stays closed. But that door was never locked from outside. It's always been inside your reach. For centuries, the idea that the pineal gland could unlock higher consciousness was dismissed as mystical nonsense, limited to secret groups and old books. But as science moves forward, cracks are forming in the wall between spiritual ideas and scientific proof. The more we learn about the brain, the more uncomfortable it becomes for those who have denied these ancient truths. Because beneath the science is what the Hermetics knew all along. Consciousness isn't just brain chemistry, it's something much deeper. Modern neuroscience agrees that the pineal gland helps regulate our sleep cycle by producing melatonin, the hormone that controls when we feel sleepy. But that's just a small part of what this gland might really do, because it's right in the geometric center of the brain, surrounded by fluid and blood vessels. Some scientists think it might be specially designed to interact with electromagnetic fields. The pineal gland contains tiny crystals made of calcite that have piezoelectric properties, meaning they can generate electrical charges when pressure or certain frequencies are applied. This isn't some wild theory, it's measurable and documented. The ancient Hermetics didn't use today's scientific language, but their practices were aimed exactly at this, stimulating the pineal gland using specific vibrations. Frequency is an invisible force that science is only just beginning to understand. Sound waves, electromagnetic waves, and even brain waves carry frequencies that influence how our minds work. The Hermetics knew that by using certain frequencies through chanting, controlled breathing, or meditation, they could change the brain's frequency to match higher vibrations. This isn't just a figure of speech, it's a real, measurable process where brainwaves sync up with external frequencies, which can trigger chemical changes that open the door to altered states of awareness. There's also the chemical side. Some studies suggest that under the right conditions, the pineal gland might produce its own dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, a compound linked to deep mystical experiences, near-death encounters, and other transcendent states. When people describe out-of-body experiences, visions of light beings, or a strong feeling of unity with the universe, these experiences closely resemble those caused by DMT. The Hermetic activation methods, combining breathwork, visualization, and frequency tuning, might create the perfect conditions for the pineal gland to naturally release DMT, allowing people to enter these expanded states without taking any drugs. Even mainstream researchers are starting to consider that consciousness might not just live inside the brain. Ideas like the holographic universe and non-local consciousness suggest our minds could be tapping into a field of information beyond our physical bodies, ideas that line up well with Hermetic teachings. In this view, the pineal gland isn't creating consciousness, but acts like a tuner or receiver, granting access to different layers of reality depending on how activated it is. The more balanced and coherent the internal frequencies, the deeper the access to this larger field of consciousness. But even with more scientific support, this topic is still controversial and often dismissed. Big institutions tied to pharmaceutical companies, political control, and strict academic rules don't want people exploring these ideas. That's because once you realize consciousness isn't just brain chemistry, the whole materialistic system that keeps people controlled starts to fall apart. A society based on fear, consumerism, and obedience depends on keeping you disconnected from this truth. The forbidden Hermetic method, long mocked by those in power, isn't about blind belief. It's based on clear, repeatable techniques that bring body and mind into balance. Modern brain scans show that deep meditation changes brain waves and even reshapes brain structures, improving connections linked to higher awareness, empathy, and intuition. Breathwork, once seen as just relaxation, now shows real effects on the nervous system, heart rhythm, and even gene activity. Science is catching up, but few want to talk openly about it because the truth is too disruptive. At its core, the Hermetic method isn't about magic. It's about understanding how body and mind interact, how vibration, breath, and focused intention can change brain states, trigger powerful chemical reactions, and open the door to a much wider reality. The ancients didn't have modern words for it, but they knew the pineal gland wasn't just a gland, it was a gateway. And for those disciplined enough to activate it, reality itself would change forever. If the Hermetics found a way to unlock the highest human potential, you have to ask, why doesn't everyone know about it? Why isn't this taught in schools, practiced in communities, or supported by governments that say they want human progress? The answer is simple and harsh. An awakened population can't be controlled. This knowledge wasn't lost by accident. It was hidden on purpose. Those in power have always feared anything they can't control. Hermetic teachings threatened not just organized religion, but political and economic systems built on hierarchy, obedience, and ignorance. When empires rose, centralized religions became tools to keep people in line with strict beliefs. These institutions wanted followers who obeyed authority, not seekers who questioned reality. Mystical paths focused on direct experience, like Hermeticism, Gnosticism, and other secret traditions, were quickly branded heretical, dangerous, even evil. The church couldn't let people bypass priests and rituals to reach divine knowledge on their own. The pineal gland was a threat because it offered a personal doorway that made intermediaries unnecessary. So they condemned it, outlawed its teachings, and destroyed knowledge to keep control. But religious power was only half the story. Political rulers also knew that awakened citizens are hard to control. Someone who sees reality as flexible and feels connected to higher consciousness won't fall for fear, division, or fake crises. They won't chase material things or blindly obey economic systems based on debt and consumption. Instead, they become self-directed, independent, and free from fear-based control. In a world built on conformity, that kind of personal freedom is revolutionary. Jump ahead to today, and you'll see the same control methods are still in play, just more advanced. Science is now tied up with big corporations and politics, and it often dismisses or mocks anything that challenges its materialistic story. The pharmaceutical industry makes money from people who've lost touch with their own ability to heal. Mental health issues get treated with drugs that just cover up symptoms instead of fixing the real problems, while deeper healing through inner work gets pushed aside. Huge amounts of money go into keeping the idea alive that your mind is broken and only they can fix it. The entertainment industry plays a part too. It floods you with distractions, trains you to find happiness in buying stuff, and pushes the idea that exploring beyond the normal way of thinking is silly or dangerous. Movies and TV shows that touch on higher consciousness often portray it as crazy or the hobby of unstable people, sending the message that smart, reasonable people don't bother with it. So the control keeps going, just in ways that are harder to see. The real genius of this control is how it makes you police yourself. You hesitate to explore these ideas, not because someone directly told you not to, but because of social conditioning passed down through generations. Fear of being laughed at, called a conspiracy theorist, or stepping outside what's normal. This keeps you stuck in a limited view of reality. The smartest prison is one where you hold the key but never dare to use it. The forbidden method threatens all this. It doesn't just expand your view of reality, it frees you from the very systems that keep you passive. That's why they've fought so hard to keep this knowledge hidden. Because once you start waking up and peeling back layers of conditioning, you see just how fragile their power really is. Their whole system depends on you staying in the dark. Your awakening means their collapse. Long before you even knew what control was, the system shaped how you see the world from the moment you were born. Layers of conditioning quietly built up from innocent rules, phrases, and routines that laid the groundwork for a life of obedience. You weren't taught to explore your own mind. You were taught to follow the rules. School wasn't about questioning. It was about memorizing facts and sticking to the story they wanted you to believe. You were rewarded for compliance and punished for independent thinking. Every bell, grade, and gold star wasn't just education, it was conditioning. The same system that shut down ancient Hermetic wisdom found smarter ways to program modern minds. Think about your earliest school years. When did they really encourage critical thinking? Real questioning of authority, history, or reality was never part of the plan. Instead, fitting in was praised as being smart. Kids who asked too many questions were seen as troublemakers or distractions. While you learned to follow the rules, deeper messages were quietly planted in your subconscious. Accept what you're told, trust authority, stay normal. This programming didn't stop when you left school. It carried on through everything you watched. Kids' shows, cartoons, and movies told simple stories about good guys and bad guys. But if you look closer, the same pattern repeats. The hero defends the status quo, and the villain is always the one who questions or disrupts it. Rebellion is dangerous, obedience is good. From a young age, you were trained to fear questioning the system and to mock or pity those who didn't follow the rules. Even as adults, most people still carry that fear. The biggest questions about life, consciousness, and true spiritual freedom stay locked behind walls of doubt, ridicule, and social rules. Language itself traps you. Phrases like, "Don't question it, that's just how it is," or "Be a good boy," weren't innocent. They were early scripts teaching you that obedience is safe and rebellion is risky. Over time, these messages become subconscious rules controlling you without you even realizing it. And once that happens, the system doesn't need to control you directly. You do it to yourself, stay in line, and even feel proud of it. That's the real power of programming. It turns you into a willing participant in your own control. Even your goals were shaped for you. Success was defined as climbing the ladder, collecting titles, showing off status symbols, and fitting into preset roles. You weren't taught to seek inner truth or freedom. You were taught to chase approval from outside systems that profit from your obedience. And while you chase that success, you stay too busy, too stressed, and too distracted to stop and ask why you're doing it. The forbidden Hermetic method asks you to tear down these layers. It calls for dropping those inherited scripts and reclaiming your ability to see reality for yourself. But that starts with a hard truth. Most of what you believe about your life wasn't chosen by you. It was given to you. You were taught to think of spirituality as something outside yourself, controlled by religious leaders or institutions. You were never encouraged to explore higher consciousness on your own. The idea that you could activate something inside you as powerful as the pineal gland's true potential was never part of your education. This wasn't an accident, it was on purpose. The more you look, the clearer it becomes how deep the programming goes. Even now, reading this, you might feel a little tension or doubt, a conditioned voice saying, "This sounds too strange." That resistance is part of the programming designed to keep you from going too far down this path. because if you did, you'd find the one truth that shatters all their illusions. You were born with everything you need to access higher states of being. The only thing standing in your way is the system that convinced you otherwise. Even when people catch a glimpse of the deeper truth, most never take the next step. They feel like something is missing, that life feels oddly empty despite their success, but they ignore it. Not because they don't care, but because something inside them resists digging deeper. This resistance isn't weakness, it's the result of years of careful mental programming. You were trained to hesitate, to hold back, to avoid paths that might take you outside what society says is okay. So even when your gut tells you to explore forbidden knowledge, there's a quiet voice inside that says, "Be careful, don't go too far." Fear has been the main tool for control since you were a kid. You were taught to link questioning authority with danger. The punishment for stepping out of line wasn't usually physical, it was emotional. Disapproval, shame, or being left out. That feeling of being different, not fitting in, carries a heavy weight. Society made sure the cost of exploring deeper awareness wasn't just an intellectual risk, but a social exile. And for most, that risk feels too high. It seems safer to stay numb in the approved reality than to risk being alone. Why? Because accepting these ideas would shake the foundations of entire industries. Pharmaceuticals, mental health, education, and organized religion, all of which rely on keeping you believing your mind can only work inside strict limits. The scariest thing you could do isn't to criticize these institutions outright. It's to wake up and realize you don't need them to reach your full potential. The forbidden method offers a path to total psychological, spiritual, and even physical freedom. But complete freedom scares those who profit from your dependence. A free mind doesn't buy stuff to fill an emptiness, doesn't need constant distractions, doesn't seek approval from broken systems. It simply exists in a natural state of expanded awareness, a state the activated pineal gland can help you reach. But this journey isn't without real risks, and the Hermetics knew that. That's why this method was never taught casually. Awakening your consciousness means facing not only higher truths, but also the illusions you've lived under your whole life. It tears away comforting lies and forces you to see that much of what you believed about yourself was just programming. For many, that's overwhelming. They pull back and return to the safe numbness of conformity. That's why so few take this path seriously. It's not that the method doesn't work. It's that breaking free from your own mental chains takes more courage than most are ready to face. The real prison isn't outside control. It's the deep belief that you can't change. But here's the truth they worked so hard to hide. You were never powerless. The pineal gland is still there, asleep, waiting for you to awaken it. The ancient method didn't disappear. It was just buried under fear, distractions, and lies. Once you see how deep the programming goes, you realize just how deliberate it all is. Every fear you feel thinking about this path was planted carefully. The discomfort you feel now isn't just in your head, it's the leftover effect of their plan. They made you hesitate, they built your doubt. And the moment you see that, even a little, you start loosening the chains wrapped around your mind. This forbidden method isn't a mystical fairy tale or some vague promise whispered by flashy gurus. It's a clear, disciplined system built on principles refined and guarded for centuries. The Hermetic practitioners weren't chasing fantasies, they were mastering the mind-body connection that unlocks the pineal gland's hidden power. While science is just starting to explore this, the ancients laid out the path with amazing accuracy. And even though it's been hidden by time, censorship, and mockery, the method still works as well as it ever did. At its core, Hermetic activation has three main parts: breathwork, frequency alignment, and focused intention. Each is key to creating the exact conditions inside your body to to wake up the pineal gland. Breathwork isn't just about relaxing, it's about precisely controlling your nervous system, blood chemistry, and energy balance. With specific breathing patterns, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes holding your breath. Practitioners change carbon dioxide levels, adjust blood pH, and influence both the calming and alert parts of the nervous system. This shifts how the brain works and gets it ready for higher activation. But breath alone isn't enough. Frequency alignment is the second essential part. The Hermetics knew that everything vibrates and certain frequencies connect with different parts of the body and mind. They used chanting, humming, tuning forks, and specific sounds to create vibrations that stimulate the tiny crystals inside the pineal gland. These vibrations, combined with breathwork, make the brain resonate, boosting electromagnetic activity and activating the gland's unique electrical properties. This isn't just a story, it's based on real physics. Then there's focused intention, the most important but often overlooked part. The ability to concentrate deeply and hold clear mental images plays a huge role in triggering powerful brain chemistry. Hermetic practitioners learn to hold specific visualizations, like geometric shapes, sacred symbols, or flows of energy, while doing breathing and sound exercises. Together, breath, frequency, and focus create a strong feedback loop where brain chemistry, electromagnetic energy, and subtle energies come together. The pineal gland then acts not just as a passive organ, but as an active bridge between your body and higher levels of consciousness. When done right, people report incredible experiences that go beyond normal understanding. Time feels distorted or disappears. The line between self and universe fades. Some meet higher beings, tap into universal wisdom, or feel overwhelming love and unity. These aren't hallucinations or fantasies. They happen when you move beyond the usual brainwave range of everyday waking life. The Hermetics called this tuning into higher realities, a state where the soul connects directly with universal truth, free from the limits of our senses. The Hermetic method was never meant to be easy or casual. It's not some quick daily trick for instant enlightenment. Instead, it requires serious preparation, discipline, and deep self-awareness before you can fully activate the pineal gland. A lot of the early work is about clearing the mind of toxic thoughts, breaking free from outside programming, and mastering emotional balance. Your mind needs to be strong enough to handle what you'll experience once the veil lifts. If someone without discipline jumps into these states, they risk feeling overwhelmed or unsteady. That's why the method was only given to those ready to take on the responsibility that comes with expanded awareness. In today's world of instant gratification, this kind of commitment feels foreign. We've been taught to think knowledge is something you can buy, truth is something you can download, and enlightenment is just another product. But real awakening can't be bought or handed to you. It has to be earned. The forbidden Hermetic method pushes back against our culture of shortcuts. It asks you to face yourself honestly, peel away the comfortable identities and conditioning built up over your life, and stay present in that uncomfortable place. Only then will the doorway start to open. The power to activate the pineal gland never disappeared. It was just buried under layers of distraction, fear, and mockery. The ancient Hermetics left a clear map, but walking the path is your choice. Few will try it, and even fewer will keep going. But those who do are rewarded with a direct experience of reality's true nature, something that changes everything you thought you knew about yourself, the world, and the hidden forces behind it. When the pineal gland is fully activated, it's hard to put the experience into words. Our language struggles to describe states that exist beyond the usual dimensions we live in. But those who have gone through the disciplined activation speak of experiences that completely change how they understand existence. They see reality not as fixed, but as layers of perception, each deeper and wider than the last. Time can stretch or disappear, space feels fluid, and the sense of separation between self and universe melts away. These aren't daydreams or hallucinations, but real shifts in consciousness that let you perceive levels of reality normally hidden from the everyday mind stuck in linear thinking. When the pineal gland wakes up, consciousness can move beyond normal brainwave patterns and connect directly with the field underlying all existence. Some Hermetic practitioners call this piercing the veil, stepping past the illusion of the physical world into a state where all information, wisdom, and creation exist at once. In these expanded states, people often meet higher intelligences, not physical beings, but aspects of consciousness beyond the ego-driven mind. They feel waves of unconditional love, deep wisdom, and unity. Some even see their lives or entire timelines as if from outside time itself. This kind of awareness doesn't erase individuality, but breaks the illusion that you're separate from everything else. The Hermetics compared individuality to a wave rising from the ocean, unique for a moment but never truly separate from the sea. These experiences aren't just spiritual ideas, they have real effects on everyday life. Practitioners often notice lasting changes in how they handle suffering, fear, and death. The worries that once controlled them lose power, replaced by a deep peace that comes from knowing their existence goes far beyond this temporary body. The distractions of modern life, materialism, competition, fake status, lose their hold. Things that once felt urgent become trivial in the face of such clarity. That's why activating the pineal gland is such a threat to those who profit from control. Someone who's truly connected to higher consciousness can't be manipulated. Fear doesn't work on them anymore. Consumer culture loses its grip. Political and religious institutions become meaningless. The need for outside approval fades. They become truly free, not just in theory but in real life. A society made up of people like this couldn't be controlled by the systems running the world now. The Hermetic Masters knew true freedom isn't handed to you. It's discovered inside you. It's waiting there beneath the illusions that cover it. The forbidden method isn't about running away from reality, but seeing it clearly. A flowing, connected field full of infinite possibilities. Once you see this, once you feel it for yourself, the artificial limits society puts on you lose their power. But with this new awareness comes responsibility. Awakening isn't an excuse to check out of life. It's a call to live with wisdom and compassion. The Hermetic path teaches that those who awaken become beacons for others, a steady light in a world caught in illusion. And that's exactly what the system fears most. Because when enough people wake up, the whole collective illusion starts to break down. The structures built on your ignorance can't survive a growing wave of free minds who see past the veil. The biggest threat to any controlling system isn't loud rebellion or protests. It's the quiet, steady confidence of an awakened mind. Once you see through the lies and realize how deeply you've been programmed, you become untouchable. Those in power don't fear physical resistance as much as they fear mass awakening. They can crush uprisings, but they can't control millions who no longer believe in their authority. For centuries, major institutions, religious, political, economic, have kept people trapped in a narrow band of consciousness. People who believe life is only about the body, who think their worth depends on status, and who chase material things are easy to control. Fear keeps them obedient, desire keeps them buying, and division keeps them apart. This cycle repeats generation after generation. But everything falls apart the moment someone truly experiences the vastness of who they really are. Once you realize you're not your job title, your possessions, or even your body, their tricks stop working. That's exactly why Hermetic knowledge was such a threat to those in power throughout history. It gave people direct access to universal wisdom without needing priests, kings, or governments. The Hermetics didn't ask for blind faith. They offered tools for direct experience. The pineal gland wasn't just a symbol. It was a real gateway to higher states of being. With every activation, people became harder to control through fear, and as more woke up, the threat to authority grew. Imagine what would happen if whole populations stopped believing the stories that kept them enslaved. What if people refused to play their roles in the fake hierarchy? That fear has haunted rulers for centuries. Throughout history, seekers of forbidden knowledge, early Gnostics, mystics, Hermetics, and others, were hunted, silenced, or erased from history. Their teachings were demonized, their books destroyed or hidden by the very powers that feared them. This wasn't because the knowledge was dangerous in the way they said, but because it threatened their hold on power. Control depends on everyone playing the same game. Awakening brings unpredictability. Someone who trusts their own experience is much harder to manipulate than someone who depends on outside authorities for the truth. Today, repression still happens, but in sneakier ways. There are no book burnings or public executions anymore. Instead, forbidden knowledge gets drowned in noise, ridicule, and fake skepticism. Exploring higher consciousness is made to seem childish, crazy, or dangerous. Big media floods you with distractions to keep you busy, stressed, and dependent. Schools still reward obedience and memorization, not real questioning or spiritual growth. Social media algorithms push shallow content, burying anything that challenges the official story. Here's the uncomfortable truth they hope you never realize. These controls exist because the threat is real. If this knowledge had no power, they wouldn't bother hiding it. The very fact they work so hard to suppress it proves how dangerous an awakened population would be to their control. The forbidden method could tear down the foundations of modern power, not through violence, but through millions of people freeing themselves from inside. A society of people no longer ruled by fear or desire doesn't need external rulers. Governments lose power, companies lose customers who buy out of dissatisfaction, organized religions lose followers, economic systems based on scarcity and competition collapse. That's why the control is so relentless. If even a small part of the population woke up, the ripple effect would be unstoppable. One awakened mind inspires another. Conversations change, values shift, old stories fall apart. Eventually, the system breaks under its own weight. That's the real fear they face. Not rebellion, but becoming irrelevant. Now you stand at a crossroads most won't admit. The choice is simple, though not easy. Keep following the safe, predictable path laid out for you, or take the first steps to reclaim the power that's always been inside you. The Hermetic path wasn't meant for everyone. Few have the courage to walk it. But if you've made it this far, if these ideas are starting to settle in your mind, you've already begun breaking free. Awakening isn't a sudden flash. It's a process. It starts with questioning everything you were told to accept without question. Every belief about success, happiness, authority, even who you think you are, needs to be examined. Where did these ideas come from, and who benefits when you hold on to them? The more you look, the more you'll see that much of what you believed was just programming designed to serve others' interests, not yours. The Hermetic method requires discipline, not perfection. Begin by noticing your own patterns. Pay attention to your automatic reactions, feeling defensive around new ideas, fearing standing out, craving approval. These are leftovers from your conditioning. Watch them, question them, and slowly let them go. Awareness is the first key to unlocking deeper doors in your life. Add intentional practices based on Hermetic principles, breathwork to calm and balance, visualization to focus your mind, and exposure to frequencies that raise your awareness instead of dulling it. This isn't about magic, it's about real tools based on the connection between your mind, body, and the energy around you. As you practice, you'll start noticing subtle shifts, moments when the noise fades and a quiet peace comes through. Don't expect instant miracles or visions. The path rewards steady, humble work. Every step peels away another layer of illusion. The goal isn't to escape life, but to live it with clarity, freedom, and purpose. True awakening helps you see through manipulation without getting caught in it. It lets you choose your own path, one that matches your deepest values instead of empty promises from a system designed to keep you chasing forever. And as more people wake up, the whole culture starts to shift. The system built on everyone fitting in weakens when faced with more individuals who don't respond to its tricks. Each awakened mind becomes a light, quietly inspiring others to question, explore, and remember the instincts they had as children before they were told to forget. This is how real change happens, not with loud revolutions, but through quiet, widespread awakening. The world doesn't need more followers. It needs more people who have taken back the keys to their own consciousness. The pineal gland is still inside you, not just an old piece of biology, but a living doorway waiting for you to open it. You've been taught this path is impossible or dangerous, but the real danger is staying asleep, chasing empty promises while your true potential waits to be unlocked. If this video spoke to you, please leave a comment and let us know.